right, today we're in section 4.4, least common multiple. It should be in your books on page 187. Page 187 in your books. Now, example 1, in example 1, it's basically just asking me to find the least common multiple. It says if I plant a certain crop in a field every 6 years and the same crop in a different field every 10 years, every how many years basically will they be planted in the same field in the same year. All right, so that's a lot of fancy words for let's find the least common multiple of these numbers. Now, there are two ways that you can find the least common multiple. One way is through prime factorization, and then the other way is through listing multiples. Because of the direction that we're kind of going with fractions and least common denominator, we're only going to focus on finding our LCM through listing multiples today. All right, so in your notes, I want you to go ahead and write, we're finding the least common multiple of 6 and 10. 6 and 10. So write 6 and 10 on your papers. All right, and the way we do this is we always start with our largest number of the two or of the three. Okay, we always start with the largest number of the set. And we start by listing multiples. Now, a multiple is different than a factor. A factor goes into that number, but a multiple, I'm increasing that number by that amount. So I go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, and I keep getting bigger until I hit a number that both numbers go into. All right, so let's start. All right, we've got, let's see. All right, there we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the slide. Okay, there we go. All right, so I go 10. Does 6 go into 10?
No.
What about 20?
No.
What about 30?
Yes.
Yes. So now I know that 30 is my LCM. All right, and for this example, we're going to go ahead and go back to 6 and list out our multiples of 6 to kind of just help us to see that 30 is the lowest number that they both can go into. Do you see that? Yes, all right, so go ahead and list your multiples of both numbers until you get to 30. All right, so in the your turn now in the checkpoint, okay, we're finding the least common multiple of these numbers by listing our multiples, okay? So let's look at 16 and 24. So we're going to list out 16 and 24. I prefer you to do it one on top of the other, 16 and then 24 underneath. So which number am I going to start with?
16.
No. The larger, 24. Start with 24, and then obviously you're going to start by listing the number 24. 24, okay, does 16 go into 24?
No.
Nope. So, sorry, hold on. So now I go to my next multiple. Does 16 go into 48?
Yes.
All right, so now it's just, I'm going to list my multiples of 16 until I get to 48. 16, 32, 48. All right, I want you to do the same thing for number 2. Tell me what the LCM is. All right, so we start by listing multiples of 25, right? So we go 25, 50, 75. Where do I stop? 100. Okay, I know that 20 goes into 100, so I go back and list my multiples of 20. LCM is 100. All right, who got that right? LCM of 100. All right, very good. Now, when I'm finding the LCM for 3 numbers, I have to find a number that all 3 of them go into, not just 2 of them. So on number 3, what number am I going to start listing multiples? What number am I going to choose?
Larger one.
The largest, which is 20. All right, so I go 20. No. What about 40? Oh, good. 40. 8 goes into 40, so I'm done. Right?
No.
Why? Because 6 doesn't go into 40, so now I need to keep going. All right, 60. Same problem with 60 because 6 goes into 60, but does 8? Nope. Okay, so I need to keep going. 80. Nope. 100. Okay, well maybe let's test it in our calculators. 100 divided by 8. Does it come out evenly? 100 divided by 8? No, it doesn't. So I know that 100's not an option. You might have to test your answers in your calculator sometimes. Your numbers are going to get so big that you're going to have to test your answers. But if it doesn't come out to a whole number, is it your LCM? No. Okay, so now let's keep going. What about 120? Does 6 go into 120?
Yeah.
Does 8 go into 120? Let's test it. Does it go evenly? We'll do it on your calculator. Yes, it goes evenly. So I know that 120 is my LCM. Now, on your homework, okay, if you were to list out all of your multiples of 6 and 8, that is a lot of writing. Am I right? That's going to be a lot of writing. So here's the deal. I will let you not have to do that, okay, as long as you understand you have to get to a number that all three go into. Is everybody on the same page? Because if you were to write it out, this is what it would look like. Okay? Yes, that's a lot of writing, isn't it? Okay? So let's all agree, okay, I'm fine with this, okay? On your homework tonight, I'm fine with this. LCM is 120. But you must list the multiples of the largest number. Does that make sense? Till you hit that number. How did I know? Because I tested it in my calculator. 8 goes evenly into 120, and so does 6. So I will accept this as work being shown. Okay? You don't have to do all that other ridiculous listing factors. Or listing multiples, I mean. All right? Fair enough? Fair enough? Yes? Yes? Okay. So now I want you to go ahead and do the last one. 15, 30, and 50. Okay? I want you to do 15, 30, and 50. So list your multiples of 50, and then tell me what your LCM is. Okay? Do they all go into 50?
No.
Nope. Do they all go into 100?
No.
Nope. Do they all go into 150?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 150 is my LCM. So this is all the work that I'll require you to show on your homework tonight for this one. Okay? So as long as you show your multiples of your largest number, we're good. All right, but just for example purposes, if you were to list out the rest of your multiples, you could clearly see that 150 is your LCM. All right, it's just a lot of writing. Okay, so I'll save you the work of writing all that. We just understand that we start with our largest number and we find the number that they all go into. Good? All right, so now moving on to example 2. Okay, now in example 2, and this is really the direction that we're moving, okay? So we started with just numbers, finding the lowest number that both go into. And now we're dealing with monomials, okay? So we're bringing some variables into the picture here. All right, so using our mental math, and we can use our calculators, which number is larger, 9 or 15? 15, clearly. So can 9 go into 15? No. So what is the next multiple of 15? 30. Can 9 go into 30? Okay, what's the next one? 45. Can 9 go into 45? Okay, so now I found the lowest number that they both go into. So 45 is the number part of my LCM. Now I need to look at my variables. Now remember, whatever I write in my LCM, both numbers need to be able to go into. So I'm going to choose the larger of the two exponents. So you see we have an x with my 9 and an x squared with the 15. So which one's bigger? X squared. So I'm going to write an x squared in my LCM. Whichever term has the larger exponent with the variable, that's the one I write in my LCM. And here's why. Because if I just write an x squared is not going to be able to go into that. It's too big, right? So I need the lowest one that they can both go into. That would be the larger exponent of the two. All right, so what about y? Which one's my larger exponent? Y squared. So y squared belongs in my LCM. And that's my LCM. So for the numbers, smallest number they both go into. And for my variables, I choose the larger exponent of the two terms. All right, now let's look at the second one. Try to find the number part. What's your LCM for the number part for the second one? All right, don't say. So now what is it going to be? 36. Very good. Okay, 36. Now I'm looking at my variables. Which one is larger, a to the third or a squared?
A to the third.
A to the third. So that's the one I need to write in my LCM because, again, it has to be large enough that both terms can go into it. All right, so a to the third, and what about c? C squared, and that's my LCM. All right, now I want you to do this third one totally on your own. Try to find the LCM. What's the multiple of that they both go into? 90. Very good. So it's the next one. So 90 is my LCM. Now what about my variables? What's it going to be? S squared, T squared. Again, the smallest that they both can go into. S squared, T squared. All right, how many got that right? Most of you got it. Okay, very good. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit. Let's hold off on some of this practice for now. Okay, let me just skip through here. Okay, and we're going to compare fractions using the LCD. I'm going to skip over the word problem for now. I want to start a little more simple than that. All right, so what if I had the fraction 1/4 and 2/7? And now I'm using the LCM, and I know my least common multiple is the same thing as my least common denominator, right? I'm looking for the lowest number that they both go into. So with 1/4 and 2/7, I want to see, okay, which one is bigger and which one is smaller. But I can't do that because they're not the same size. Okay, 4 and 7, they're not the same size. So I need to find the lowest number that they both can go into. All right, so let's start with our larger of the two denominators. Can 4 go into 7? No. So what's our next multiple? 14. Can 4 go into 14? Okay, so what's our next multiple? 28. Well, hold on. 21. 4 doesn't go into 21, so 28. Does 4 go into 28? Okay, so there I've hit it. All right, so we're going to use our mental math to kind of climb the ladder of our multiples till I hit a number that they both go into. So now I have 28 as my new common denominator. But how am I going to figure out what goes in my numerator? How do I know? Do I bring down my old one? Okay, here's what I do. What did I have to multiply 4 by to get to 28? I multiplied it by 7. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the same thing to the top. Equivalent fractions. That's the lesson that we learned last week. So 4 times 7 is 28, and 1 times 7 gives me 7. See that? All right, I want you to try the second one. What's going to be my new numerator for my second fraction? Hayden, what will it be? 8. It'll be 8 because 7 times what is 28? 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. And now that I'm comparing same size fractions, now I can look at my numerators, and is 7 larger or greater or less than 8? It's less than, so less than sign belongs in the blank. Okay, and I box it as my answer. All right, now I want you to try one. 7 over 10 and 11 over 15. Compare these fractions using your LCD. All right, so simply a greater or less than sign is not going to cut it. You have to find the LCD. All right, so with between 7/10 and 11 over 15, what did you find to be your LCD?
30.
30, very good. Okay, so now how did you figure out what was going in your numerator?
You multiplied from...
Very good. 10 times what is 30? What? 3, so 7 times 3 is 21. And then 15 times 2 is 30, so 11 times 2 is
22.
Very good. So less than. Who got less than? Who got less than? Raise them high. Good job. Good job. All right. One more example. One more example and we're done. Now we're going to just take that one step further. Okay, take it one step further to order them from least to greatest. So there's a couple problems here. Okay, the first one is I have some that are mixed numbers and some that are improper fraction. Everybody know what a mixed number is?
Yes.
Has a whole number and a fraction. What's an improper fraction?
What the numerator's
Very good.
higher.
Numerator is bigger than my denominator. So my first challenge is to write all of my numbers as improper fractions. So the way I do that, and this might be reviewed for some of you, and that's okay, is I multiply the whole number times my denominator. What's 3 times 15?
45.
What? And then I add my leftover numerator parts. What's 45 plus 4? 49. 49. Okay, so now 49 over 15. Does everybody understand where I got that improper fraction from? Okay, now I'm going to rewrite my other improper fractions. Okay, but now here's my problem. I'm not comparing the same size fractions. This is just what we did in example 3. So what do I need to find? The least common denominator. I have to find my LCD. How do I do that? What's the biggest denominator? 15. Start listing your multiples. Does 10 go into 15 evenly? Nope. So now I need to go a step up. What's my next multiple? 30. Does 10 go into 30?
Yes.
Does 6 go into 30?
Yes.
So 30 is my LCD. Now I want you to find what are my new fractions. Okay, I want you to find the new fractions. Okay, so what's your first fraction going to be completed?
98 over 30.
Okay, very good. 98 over 30. What's my second fraction?
99 over 30.
Okay, what's my third fraction?
95 over 30.
Okay, so now that I'm comparing the same size, now I can see clearly which one is the smallest. 95 over 30. Now, in my final answer, I want to write it in its original form. So that's why it's important to write them underneath so I can clearly see that 95 over 30 is what in its original form? 19 over 6. Okay. Basically, what you're doing here is you're writing these so you can see, but you're writing your answer in its original form. 95 over 30 in its original form is 19 over 6. So that's why I wrote 19 over 6 in my answer. I wrote it kind of sloppy, but it's there. So 19 over 6. All right, now what's my next smallest fraction?
33.
Hold on. In its original form,
Oh.
3 and 4/15. 3 and 4/15. And then what's my biggest fraction?
33 over
33 over 10. All right, so here's what I need on your homework tonight. I need your everything as an improper fraction. That's a step. Then I need you to show me your LCD. That's a step. Then in your final answer, you're writing them in order, least to greatest, in their original format. Okay? And that's how you're going to do that section of your homework. If you understand all of that, that's everything you need to know for 4.4.